Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Massaro.
Marty, Kyle Busch has just buckled himself into his race car, looking to complete one of the most improbable comeback stories in all of sports. Just 8 months ago, he was recovering from a broken leg and a broken foot. He missed 11 races. He's now back, qualified for the chase, looking to break the dreams of 3 other championship contenders.
A complete sweep. Doesn't get much better than that. Joey Logano won all 3 races in the round of 12 last year. Should he get the broom out again? Well, Nate Ryan spoke with him to find out just how confident he is heading to Charlotte this weekend.
Before the green flag flies, let's get some updates from pit road. We start with Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, when the news came down that Jimmie Johnson would have to start at the back of the field, there was very little reaction in the 48 camp. In fact, crew chief Chad Knaus had a stoic expression on his face. Didn't crack a smile, but didn't grimace either. Afterwards, he huddled up his team and had a very quiet pep talk. Doesn't seem like they are fazed at all by starting at the back. As for Jimmie Johnson, I spoke with him before driver introductions. He admitted there were a little bit of nerves, but mostly, he said, excitement, and pointed out, earlier in the season, we didn't expect to even be competitive, let alone be here in the championship race. He's happy he's got a shot at title number 7. Rick, it took fewer than 50 laps for Jimmie Johnson to make his way from the back of the field all the way up inside the top 5. That speaks to his determination, something that he had demonstrated as early as 8 years old. I spoke with his younger brother Jarrett earlier this week, who told me a story of Jimmie Johnson when he was racing motorcycles in the desert. He said he was 8 years old with a broken leg. All he needed to do was complete 1 lap in the final race to win the championship. So what did Johnson do? He propped his leg up over the handlebars and drove that 1 lap, got last place points, and won the championship. And oh, by the way, the leathers he was wearing that day, they were donated by his racing hero, Ricky Johnson. Certainly a determined driver who's been determined his entire racing career, Rick. Well, there's 2 sides of the emotional spectrum, Rick. Obviously, we just saw the disappointment of Carl Edwards there, but on the other side, the beneficiary, the 48 team. They were looking for a little bit of a Hail Mary, so to speak, to make this happen. This may be the break they need. When that transpired, look at the reaction from Chad Knaus. He wasn't the only one. The entire 48 pit box just exploded. You see Jeff Gordon back there as well. They're pretty excited. They now know they have an opportunity, perhaps, to turn in that historic 7th championship. What about pride? For a number of drivers in today's field, that's what today's race is all about. There's a virtual who's list of drivers so far who are winless in 2008. If your focus is on the race within the race, you need to look no further than this particular section of pit road. Just behind me, that's Carl Edwards' pit box. Where I'm standing, this is Kyle Busch's pit box. The apparent top 2 seeds heading into the chase, pitting only inches apart. There'll be no secrets on pit road. Each will know what they're doing, pit stop after pit stop.
Jeff Gordon, like the rest of the field Sunday, was doing everything he could to tame the monster mile. And as if the challenge of the racetrack wasn't enough, add to the mix the pressure of possible elimination, and it makes for a very interesting listen in today's edition of Scan All.
Catching up with a very upset Kevin Harvick right now, and you can tell by what we saw on video that you were not very happy with Juan Pablo Montoya. What was your interpretation of what happened?
Well, my interpretation was you just got run over. I guess the one ran over the 42.
It seems like emotions did escalate a little bit there. What were you guys talking about?
I was talking about kicking his ass because that's how I felt about it.
Obviously, guys, Kevin Harvick very upset, coming in near the bubble here in this chase for the championship. Jamie?
Let's go to Mike Massaro.
And Jeff Gordon just climbed from his car, walking down pit road. Obviously a heartbreaking situation. What happened?
Just driving hard, just overdrove it into 1. Pretty much same thing that happened to Tony earlier. We're just right on the edge there. And the braking zone getting into 1, and just stupid. I know I had to push.
Obviously, the signature moment was the incident with Joey Logano. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's hard to drive a car with the rear tires off the ground. So, I was moving around the best I could. Joey was a lot tighter, a lot faster on a short run, but we were so much better in a long run. And I could still kind of get up the top and get around him and catching 2 lap cars. And crazy so I was clear, and I pulled up in front of him, and he just lifted my tires off the ground and wrecked me.
What will you talk to Joey about in regards to this incident?
Oh, I won't talk to Joey. I don't have anything to talk to him about, really. So, you make decisions every day. You make decisions every minute behind the wheel. To me, strategically, that doesn't seem like such a great decision for him. But it's the one he made, and that's how he wanted to win. So I'm one of the only guys I think that haven't been into it yet with Joey. And I've always raced him with a ton of respect. I've actually been one of his biggest fans. I'm certainly not anymore, but I always was.
In James Hinchcliffe's words, this is something he wrote on the Players Tribune website. It's very graphic. I was pinned to the car like a shish kebab. I hit the wall at over 200 miles per hour, and the impact forced a metal rod through my lower right thigh and out through my upper left thigh. It went through one leg, struck an artery, and came out clean on the other side. Shish kebab. I still don't remember what happened that day on the track at Indianapolis. It's just part of my memory that isn't there. I could have died that day. I could have taken my last breath in an Indy car or laying on an ambulance gurney. Thanks to the help of a number of trained professionals, I'm here today, and I'm back doing what I love to do, even if that means risking the same fate I escaped that day.
That's what you love. That's your passion. You may be injured.
How do race car drivers block something like that out?
I think you just love it. Love overcomes everything.
Just out of pure respect, I'm going with the defending winner of the Daytona 500, Dale Earnhardt Jr. After all, since 2001, nobody's won more restrictor plate races than him. He's won 7. Kenny?
Go to Mike Massaro right now, trackside. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Brian. And Elliott Sadler gives a lot of credit to his teammate, Dale Jarrett, a 2-time winner here at the Brickyard. Sadler says when he first arrived at this racetrack a few years ago, he had no idea how to get around here, but Jarrett coached him. A photo finish victory for Eric Almirola in your home state of Florida. Did you even know that you won the race?
No, I knew it was close. I knew it was really close. I had a good push from the 18. For me, this is my first Xfinity win. I know I have a win, but there's always been that asterisk next to it. And I've been dying to get back in victory lane in an Xfinity car, so that way I can have said that I've won in all 3 series without that asterisk next to my name.
And I want to just clear up for the audience who don't really remember the asterisk. It goes back to 2007, Milwaukee, a race where you started, Denny Hamlin finished. You were credited with the win, didn't get it. This is actually your first Xfinity Series win. In regards to that, put it in perspective what this really means.
It's huge. I hated the fact that I got credit for that. I did not like that. I didn't take the trophy when they called me the winner. I didn't take any of the credit.
The celebration is on here, and that one was hard-earned. You had one of the best road course racers in this series right on your rear bumper for that final restart. What were your thoughts with Tony right there?
I knew he was going to be hard to beat.
Take us through that restart. What did you have to do to protect that spot and hold him off?
Well, I knew getting a good start was going to be good, and once I got that, then it changed all my worries of how to run turn.
And joining us now on the telephone is Blake Cook. Blake, thanks for being with us. I know before last week's race you said you're pretty relaxed right now through all this chase stuff. But what's it like now going into Charlotte, an elimination race with only a 4-point cushion? Blake, before we let you go, I heard a story recently about how your racing career began, and part of it had to do with Googling how to become a race car driver. What's that all about?
And Denny Hamlin just taking his first glance at the replay there, Rick, and getting a sense of what happened behind him. What did you see?
The 4 was pushing me, or was trying to push me to the line, and he had us jacked up, and we crossed the line, I thought, or we were close. None of us were going to win the race for second and third, so we all have wins. So, at some point you got to hit the concede button. But also took one heck of a ride. Wow.
How are you?
I'm just going to be really sore. I got my tailbone pretty good in my arm, but should be fine. Just go ice it up and get ready for Kentucky.
What happened?
The 11 got turned by the 4, I think, across the start-finish line. I thought the race was going to be over right there. We were almost there, and I was just pushing the 24, got hooked, and next thing I knew, I was looking at my roof for a long time. And
Mike Massaro.
And down here in the 18 camp, Rick, you can start to begin to feel a little bit of the tension surrounding this championship battle, some emotion. In fact, Kyle Busch's mother, Gay Busch, has just arrived in the pit, and she's observing. You can see on her face, there are almost tears in her eyes. There's a lot of anxiety here as she watches Kyle race for this championship right now. She just embraced Joe Gibbs and obviously watching with great anxiety here over the closing laps. Dave?
Kyle Busch still leading the championship for Mike.
And you got to think back to February to really appreciate this story, Rick. It was back then when Kyle Busch was sitting in a hospital bed wondering whether or not he'd ever be able to compete for this championship this year. Now, trying to complete the improbable comeback story. He may only be 15 laps away from his first Sprint Cup Series title. He's been very quiet over the radio, focused, not saying anything.
That does it for us here tonight. We're back again tomorrow at 6 Eastern. A reminder, though, for all your NASCAR news, log on to NBCSports.com/NASCAR.